I don't think you understand. This has already been approved by Starfleet Command.
But it hasn't been approved by the chief engineer, or by me.
I didn't know that was necessary.
Now you do.
Perhaps I should speak to Captain Picard.
If you like, it won't change anything.
How basic shall I be?
I'll leave that to you.
Increase to full power!
Gives me the creeps. I feel like something's watching us.
Mr. Savick, you go right on quoting regulations.
Hello, computer.
I knew I would.
You betrayed your uniform!
Target their cargo hold. Time to take out the garbage.
Smooth as an android's bottom, eh, Data?
I beg your pardon, sir.
Aspires to be better than I am.
Come on. It's gonna be fine.
5 years in space. God help me.
This is the best day of my life!
A phaser? You didn't use it?
Swords are fun.
Program complete. Enter when
Welcome back to another Retrek review, where each week we talk about Star Trek, and this week we're talking about Episode 6 of Star Trek The Next Generation, entitled Where No One Has Gone Before. Episode 6 was written by, we'll get into it, Diane Duane and Michael Reeves, and it was incredibly loosely based on The Wounded Sky by Diane Duane. And The Wounded Sky is a 1983 Star Trek novel featuring James Kirk. It was basically a story from the TOS era.
It did have that feel, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It's gonna get interesting. It was directed by Rob Bowman, who will become a common name as we go forward. We had some guest appearances. We had Stanley Camel as Kozinski, Eric Menuke as the Traveler. We had Herta Ware as Maman Picard.
Oh, Mom.
We had Biff Yeager as Argyle. So there's our most forgettable award for the Trek movies when we were doing that on your channel. The Argyle Award. It was him.
They have a different engineer every episode so far.
Yes, they have. Next was Charles Dayton. He played the spooked out crew member when Picard was walking down the hallway. Yeah.
Captain, help us. And he's like, what's wrong? He's like, can't you see what's chasing us, Captain?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
and he turns the corner and he's like, my mother was doing this?
Yeah. Next was Victoria Dillard. She played the ballerina ensign.
Oh, yeah.
She most famously went on to be Janelle Cooper on Spin City, but she's been in tons of other stuff.
Oh, cool.
And then, funny enough, Byron Berlin, he is an award-winning fiddler, and he was the guy that was sitting at the table.
Cool. He might be like my most forgettable this episode.
He just might. The synopsis.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned to find out.
The synopsis for Where No One Has Gone Before is when an experimental engine modification throws the Enterprise to the edge of the known universe, the crew must rely on a mysterious alien to guide the ship home. So we have done the full long introduction, but before we go on to comments and subscribers, let's go over to Caleb and ask Caleb what he thought of the episode.
I liked this episode. I thought it was good. Like you said, it had that feel, that like TOS feel.
Yeah.
So when you just said it was like a reused story from that era, I was like, oh, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those storylines that kind of feels like it. But yeah, for the most part, I did enjoy it. I thought it was pretty
Good.
entertaining.
Good. It's definitely in the realm of better than what we've seen. It feels
Yeah.
a little bit more like how a Star Trek generally should be.
Yeah.
Like
Something really bad happens and then they have to figure out how to get home, and then
right.
it's kind of cool seeing like different parts of the galaxy too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I really hate the engineer guy that comes aboard though.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of supposed to, but
Yeah. Well, that means they did their job right.
yep, they did it very well.
Very, very well. The next thing we're going to do is, Caleb, what would you rate the episode?
Gonna give it a 1, a CUDA. That's kind of where I've been lately
Yeah, that's fine. Hey.
because it's not like neutral in the middle. It's kind of like one above it,
Yeah,
but it's not any higher than that.
that's fine. That's okay. So next is our subscribers and comment section. We had a new subscriber that I could see, and that was Sean Trempenaire.
Thank you for subscribing, Warrior.
So thanks for subscribing, you, Sean, as well as many others. And we had a couple comments. So from our Code of Honor podcast, Captain
Yeah.
Olimar commented. He said, bad. I never rewatched this episode ever. It's what springs to mind when I think of the worst Star Trek episodes of all time.
Wow.
I really like Will's point that the vaccine is talked about, but the disease is never shown. Like that old movie trope, tell, don't show.
Yeah.
Why does Troy sell out Tasha like that? Why does it matter at all? Picard acts weirdly accusatory towards his chief of security, like she wanted to be abducted. I'm glad Will brought up that season 1 isn't totally lacking decent Trek, but we sure haven't gotten to any yet.
Yeah.
These episodes are so starved for character moments, which would be nice for, season 1 of your show. It's a terrible episode. Thanks for the review as always, guys. Keep it up.
You're welcome. I'm sorry that you had to rewatch that episode.
He said he never would watch it. He said he never would rewatch it.
Oh, okay.
So he just watched our review and then was like,
so he just knew from the okay. I thought I heard him say he.
No.
Yeah. Well, we did. We did. Yeah, the whole episode is just real bad. Real bad.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes that episode really bad is like character development, and like you said, like the captain being weird and accusatory, and
yeah,
just the whole thing was like they made her like kind of want to be with that guy on the planet, but also not really. It was like, wow, okay.
Right. Next on our last outpost, we had 2 comments. First was from Sahir18, and they wrote, just came across your podcast, and now I'm hooked. So thanks for following along. Another comment from Captain Olimar. He says, Ferengi laser whip. Can't argue with Caleb on this one. Better than last week.
Yeah, you're darn right you can't.
He says, I loathe the Ferengi. I think they are Gene at his worst, and I really hate the way they move in this episode.
Like chimps? That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. I like the design, but if Deep Space Nine didn't exist, I'd hate them all.
Wow. Okay.
I think I discovered the problem with Picard on season 1, and that he is a jerk. He has no patience for Data and forgets Wesley exists.
Yeah, I know. That's a recurring theme. And then sometimes he's like, hey, Wesley, why don't you why don't you be the captain of the ship now?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, he can't do that, sir. He can't do that. And he's like, oh, okay. All right. Well, Wesley, get the hell off the bridge. I don't know what to do. I don't even want you up here. Like, okay. It's like he's
Yeah.
so it's like I understand he's bad with kids, but he's kind of bad with like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worf is great from the start because Dorn found his voice already.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. He's always great.
Yeah. Geordi acts weird with his yippee crap.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Denise gets the worst treatment of anyone, and the more I learn, the more I understand why.
I'm like starting to come around on her character, if I'm being honest. But I don't know. She's fine.
Okay.
Those first couple episodes, I was like, oh my God. I'm not going to enjoy this. But I'm okay with her now. So and it's not her. It's not obvious. It's not her.
It's not her. No. And then he says they end the episode in classic TOS fashion with the crew yucking it up at the end.
Yep. You gotta laugh about it at the end, you know?
Yep. Then he says, thanks for the review as always, guys. So
you got it, dude.
Thanks for commenting and subscribing all. We appreciate it. Keeps this train a-rolling.
Remember, our motto is we watch the first season so you don't have to.
Okay, let's get into the review of Where No One Has Gone Before. So before the intro, all I wrote was Argyle. There he is, Chief Engineer Argyle.
Yeah, he's really
cool.
He's a real tool of the Federation, isn't he?
Not the guy who comes onto the ship, the actual engineer of Enterprise.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe he is the most forgettable because I legitimately keep forgetting who you're talking about.
Yes.
What's the engineer guy's name?
Kaczynski.
Oh, I thought it was very similar. That's why I was confused. No,
that guy's terrible.
But isn't the most forgettable engineer the one in the first episode?
McDougal?
She was like, yeah. She's pretty unforgettable.
The reason I didn't pick McDougal over Argyle is at least Argyle's in a couple other ones. So it's like, McDougal to me is like not even worth mentioning.
One and done.
It's like she's in that episode and then she barely has like any lines in it. At least McDougal is in like multiple scenes of this episode and mentioned next like the following week. And
it's like they just want Wesley to be the chief engineer so desperately that they have to try to put all these other people in the role for a while.
Right.
It's weird to me because I've loved engineers in all Star Trek media.
Yeah.
And now here I am. I don't even have an engineer to enjoy. And then half the time it's Geordi and Data and Worf doing engineering stuff anyway. So it's like, okay, cool.
Funny is that the Kaczynski guy is the psychiatrist. He ends up being the psychiatrist for the first handful of seasons of Monk.
Oh, yeah.
He's like his therapist or whatever you want to
call it. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But
that's super funny.
The actor like sadly ended up passing away like during filming, so they had to switch to a different guy. But yeah.
Well, that's a bummer.
So it's really funny because as a kid, you know, you grow up and you hate this guy because he's terrible. And then we watched Monk as a family, and it was like, oh, hey, it's that guy. Like, ugh, yuck. You know what I mean?
Yuck, yeah.
And then it was like, ah, we like this guy so much because, like, you know, you get used to him. He's in so many more episodes. And then when I'd go back and watch this episode, I'm like, hey, it's the Monk guy. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. He's terrible.
Oh, that's right. I hate him.
Yeah, we come back from our first commercial. And I thought that I thought it was a cool effect when the Enterprise passes like warp 10.
Mm-hmm.
It does like that side view, and then the engines like super hyper illuminate, and then it like goes, and like all the stuff is like rushing past.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
I did find it kind of funny that when they break two different galactic barriers, like nobody turns into Gary Mitchell on the ship.
Mm.
Apparently nobody on the ship has ESP or whatever it was.
The hull plating is much better now.
Oh, true. There you go. That's what it is. Very good. So, like, in general, I think it's just modern life and a combination of that, the actor being soft-spoken.
Yeah.
But the Traveler character is, like, just on the edge of, like...
Of being creepy?
Yeah, like, with Wesley.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt that. I felt that. And then they keep kind of, like, referencing back to it where even Riker's like, Wesley should stay in the room because for whatever reason, the Traveler's like, he was, like, distracted from his work because he just was staring at Wesley's beauty. It was like... Obviously, he doesn't say that, but he's like, he implies that he was distracted,
right?
Because he's like enamored with Wesley, and it was like, why even bring that up yet? Like, his demeanor was right on the verge of like inappropriate.
Yeah,
with Wesley,
it really was.
And this is not the first time that's happened on the show. Because remember the episode where Geordi was in his room, he's like, oh, Wesley, I'm so hot. Like, okay. Oh, right.
Yeah.
All right.
I know it's definitely like 2024 eyes looking at the 80s, but at the same time, it's just, it's a little, it's not anything predatory, but it's right there. It's like,
it's a little weird. Yeah. It feels a little uncomfortable. But it's really funny too, jumping from like the 50s where it was like, oh man, it's so controversial about like what people are on the bridge.
Oh yeah.
And now that we're in the 80s, you can just have these moments where, Geordi's like, hey, are you all right? And she's like, oh man, I was running away from all these rape gangs.
Oh,
anyway, it's like,
whatever,
dude. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I was back home, running from rape gangs. It's like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
well, since we're talking about it, that's a little ways in, but yet again, they're building something sexual around Tasha.
Yes, they have to, because as we talked about last time,
right?
She did stuff for Playboy once.
Yeah, it's like so 8 years ago, she posed for Playboy. So all we want you to do is think about sex with her. And it's like
sex,
but you don't have to.
So her backstory is she grew up on a planet. She was raped a bunch. Every time they meet new alien species, they want to like make her like the concubine because she's so hot and stuff. So it's like okay. And this does what for the story? Or it's a weird choice.
It is. So we come back from another commercial break, and so Kaczynski has gone up to the bridge, and they're in a random part of they're like 300 years away from where they were. I forget what he said. They say like 200 million miles or something crazy, whatever.
Yeah, it's
light years, not miles, light years.
Data literally says like it would take us like 300 years to get home.
Yeah, Geordi, yeah. So
Geordi says that?
Yeah, Geordi, yeah. So he comes up there, he's very smug, he's very pleased with himself.
Uh-huh.
And Argyle even says to him, he's like, why don't you call it the Kaczynski scale? And he's like, yeah, might as well, since the warp scale is now meaningless. And all this stuff, and he's terrible.
It's like, dude, you're lost. You're lost out in space.
Yeah. And the thing that's even worse for him is like he knows he didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, deep down he knows that.
And he's still acting like that. So he turns, Picard tells him to go back and like basically like return us to where we came from. Like, yeah, great that we're out here, but if you can't send us back, like it's absolutely pointless.
Yeah.
So he goes down, he's like, hey, Riker, are you going to come with me? And then he's like, Commander Riker will be with you in a moment. And he goes down the turbo lift, and then the thing closes, and like everyone is gathered around Picard, and he's standing there, and he says he's open to comments.
Yes.
And he turns to Troy, and this is my first Sigourney. I can't think of what her name was. It Gwen? I think that was her. It was like the first Gwen from Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
He goes, "Counselor," and she goes, "He's convinced he's right. I've no doubt of that." That was her insight that she read as a Betazoid, Betazoid. That's what she got from him, and I was like, "Oh, how insightful!"
Yeah, you mean he's an arrogant, smug dick? Yeah, I got it. Thanks. I don't need. Man, if only I could have your powers of knowledge and emotional feelings.
You definitely wouldn't have feelings of. He's not really sure of himself. He's scared that like something that was really deep seated.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reality of it, like he
is actually worried that he doesn't know how to get them home because he doesn't know how he even got them there in the first place.
Right.
It's just one of those things where it's like I like her character.
Yes.
But it's just like when they actually could need her help, she doesn't no idea. And then when they do ask for her help, it's so like basic and rudimentary that it's like, yeah. Thanks.
That's why I said she's very much like the girl from a Galaxy Quest, where she's just repeating.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's been kind of bad lately. I say it every episode, but it's just like when you have people that have these amazing powers, and it's like, well, you have to also write a story. And most of these stories would be like, he comes on the ship, and then she would be like, oh. Yeah, I sense that he doesn't know what he's doing and he's very arrogant. And Picard would be like, all right, well, you're not doing anything to the ship. And then be like, and that's the end of the episode.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right, because literally it was Data and Riker saying, like, we ran with this guy, his specs that he sent over. It does nothing.
Yeah.
Data's like, it literally does nothing to the ship. And then Picard's like, yeah, but how do you explain all the good things that happened on the other ships he's been on? And then Riker's like, they're older ships.
Yeah.
He's like, so probably it was just fixing an inefficiency on those ships. And then, like you're saying, he comes off the transporter pad, they talk to him, and if Deanna was like, this guy is so pompous and unsure of himself, but the guy with him is really weird, he's hard to read.
Mm-hmm.
You would be like, I don't. Nah, and then like go into your ready room and talk to the admiral and be like, what's happening? Like, why?
Yeah, he's not doing anything on my ship. So he immediately comes in. He's like, I know what you're thinking. I sent you over those blueprints, and they're like, they don't make any sense. They're just gibberish. Well, I'm going to tell you, they're not gibberish. Because what I do is I take the power from the flux and I move it into the quantum combustion, and then I move the dial up. Yeah, it's a whole thing. You won't understand it. And the engineer's like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. All right, you'll see. You'll see. I'll show you. All right, warp 8. And it's like, who's in charge of the ship? I don't.
Right.
Why? It's like, why would Picard?
No, there's no
go for that.
No.
Tell you what, Kirk would not. Kirk would.
No.
Kirk would have to be forced.
Scotty wouldn't even let him in there. He'd be like, Captain, his specs don't make any sense. He's not touching nothing down there. And then what would happen is, in an original TOS episode, Kirk would be like, no, he would go talk to the brass somewhere. And they'd be like, no, Kirk, we want you to do it anyways because blah, blah, blah. This is what's happened on other ships.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd be like, I'm not going to, no, he's like, I'm not going to let it happen. Right. And the engineer guy would end up finding out. He'd overhear Kirk talking. And so what he would do is he would...
Yeah. You don't trust me, huh?
He'd hit Scotty, right. He'd hit Scotty over the head with a pipe.
Oh, my God.
And then he'd lock down engineering, and then he would do all this crazy nonsense stuff. And he himself would be the two characters together. He would be an arrogant jerk and the weird traveler guy because he's like some weird thing. And he would make the Enterprise go way out in the middle of nowhere. And then Kirk would be like, why? And they can't get into the engine room. And then they'd go in and they'd fight the guy. They'd knock him out. Then they would learn about him in sick bay. They'd learn all of the intricacies of why he can make the ship go fast. It would be a coin flip of which would happen. Either they would make him do it again and he would die in the process.
Yeah.
Getting him back home, or he would refuse to do it again. They'd have to kill him, and then Spock would come up with some crazy. He'd make his own wormhole or something, and then they'd go back to original space, and they'd be like, "Oh man, that was close."
Wow, that was close. Yep, that's true.
So the next part, and I know you said you enjoyed it. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it, but I thought it was really comical that every time they entered a new section of space, it had to be crazy and weird and bizarre and not like anything else. And just because, like, if they were like, boom, and it was just another star field with like some nebulas way off in the distance, it'd be like, well, this is boring.
This is stupid. Why are we even out here doing this?
I was just thinking, like, of course they're gonna go to a place where it's like, these lights are all going by.
Like giant space whales. Like, wow. This part of space is really wild.
This is crazy. Yeah.
Apparently, this part of space reads your mind and your thoughts, and it uses it. You know, it's all pretty normal stuff.
Just normal things.
So don't think about like zombies or werewolves or anything like that. We'll be fine.
Yeah. Don't think about it. Don't think about it at all.
Mommy? Mommy, is that you? Is that you, Mommy?
So before we get to that section, this is the halfway point. So go down to the comment section and write.
Is that you, Mama?
So before we get to Mammon, the first thing we get to see is the Targ on the bridge.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, oh. You know what? Okay, so I had a problem towards the end of this, but then I just remember that she also saw the Targ.
Yes.
Because like they all have their own
like
things that they're seeing and nobody else sees. And then
when
Picard finds that guy with the fire guy, I was like, why is Picard also seeing the fire now?
Right.
But she sees the Torg.
Yeah.
On the deck. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Weird. They played pretty loose with like,
oh yeah.
Everybody's experiencing their own thing, and then some people are like, oh yeah, we both see it.
I think like you don't get too many Targ things.
Yeah.
You see the dead ones in Enterprise, and then I think you see a couple throughout, but that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So like you said, he goes down the thing. We see this is where we see all the guest stars that we mentioned earlier. We see the guy screaming and the girl running down the hallway, and they're like, good God, run, Picard, save us, Captain. And he's like, okay. Yeah, whatever.
What's happening?
Then nothing. Then there's the ballerina girl, and he's like, Ensign.
What are you doing, Ensign?
Yeah. And I did like that guy. He was playing violin, but I liked the guy playing. He was like, la, 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 and he's playing, and when it comes back and it's gone, he's just like, oh.
Huh. Well, better finish my sandwich.
Yeah. So this is like the only time we're gonna get into it, because I mean, we're decades away from you watching Picard, but
yeah.
So basically what ends up happening in Picard is his mom has really bad mental health problems.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad, trying to protect his wife and his son from all of it, like locks the mom away in a room in the house.
Oh, cool.
Jean-Luc, he doesn't understand what's happening to his mom. He's really young, and he feels bad because she's calling out for help inside the room. So he unlocks the door,
That's
And then
fun.
what's that?
So that's fun. That sounds like a really fun.
Yeah, it's great. And he unlocks the door. Long story short, basically, Picard comes across his mom hanging from in like the garden, like the greenhouse or whatever.
Cool.
And
So
this,
in this perfect timeline, there's no such thing as like mental help or like fixing
yeah,
people. Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense really in Star Trek. Like, I understand people are obviously still going to, even in a good society, would commit suicide. Like, you understand. But
I just feel like medical stuff would be a lot better
yeah,
in
oh
this
yeah,
timeline, you
yeah.
know?
If you were having something, you didn't immediately go and seek professional help. Like, you may make a decision that,
Well, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, right.
So once his mom dies, his whole rationale for going into space is because that's what his mom wanted. His mom was a very much like keep your eyes to the stars kind of person, and she felt trapped in the house basically.
Hmm.
So he left and explored the stars instead of being with his father because of his mom. And that's like what they set up in season 2 of Picard. And he has this like it's like a deeply entrenched like terrible thing in his heart essentially. I don't like it. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that probably do like it. I don't at all. I think it's terrible.
Yeah. It's kind of too much.
Yeah. It makes a lot of things feel weird and a lot of things don't add up overall. But the
Yeah.
reality of it is basically like in real life, Patrick Stewart has like a really rough upbringing, and like his dad was very abusive, and his mom and him were very close.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't remember him saying that his actual mom, committed suicide, but a lot of the stuff that you get from the episode is just like Patrick Stewart playing out his life.
Gotcha.
He ends up making Picard very much like him rather than
Yeah.
just letting him be a character from a show. So, the thing that is
Interesting.
the most irritating about that part, because, like, whatever about his past, it doesn't add up. I don't really like it, but you're just like, whatever. If you're going to make him want to go to space because of his mom, like, whatever. But the
Yeah.
thing that I really don't like, and to me personally, it makes no sense. He says in the episode, and in one of the episodes in the future in Picard, he says, because his mom died at such an early age, he always fantasized about his mother being an old woman and like having tea time with her.
uh so that's them trying it's them trying to like retcon like why he sees her old on this episode.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's like when they wrote this episode, you obviously know that that's not the case. His
Right.
mother was old, she passed away, and he misses her. Period. That's it.
Yep.
I will give the credit to the future writers. There is definitely a hint that there is more going on than he just misses her. He is like legitimately, I don't want to say disturbed, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when he's talking to her and then Riker is like, "Hey, Picard," and he's like, "Just a second." Like he's mad at him.
Yeah.
And then when he turns back and she's gone and he just kind of like lingers and then he lingers and then he lingers and then he gets up.
Yeah.
There's definitely more to it than the fact that he's seeing his dead mom, but it's not you don't get the feeling that it's has anything to do with the fact that like she died in a very like disturbing way.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so everybody has those experiences and all that stuff, and they move on. And I think this is where he says, like, give the traveler all of your good thoughts.
Yeah.
Think good things and do good things and all that. And yeah.
Oh man. If we have even one negative thought, we'll blow up.
But we come back from the commercial break, and I forget what Riker says exactly. He says something like something boy. And then Wesley's like, My name's Wesley, Commander.
He knows it.
He knows.
We all know it, boy. Shut up.
That was just,
I'm not calling you by your name, Wesley. You
idiot.
You idiot.
Oh man, that made me laugh.
Yeah, no, the medical scene
Yeah,
where Beverly's trying to like help, and I don't understand his physiology, and Picard's like, okay, wake him.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I could kill him. He's like, I don't care, wake him. I kind of appreciated that. I was like, yeah. Who cares? Like, we got to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, that was funny.
And this is even when Wesley's like, oh, he's my friend. And he's like, Wesley, we all have friends on the ship. Me more so than you, because I have lots of friends. You have no friends. But anyway, we have to get the ship back. Don't you understand?
That this is the scene where the Traveler tells Picard, he has everybody leave the room.
Oh yeah.
And he tells him, like, listen, this kid is basically like a genius, and he's going to do a lot more than you think he's going to do, but you can't tell him, and you certainly can't tell the mother.
Yeah. He's a very special, beautiful boy.
Yeah. Let him be with me. I want him to be with me.
Let him. I'll teach him all the things, Picard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically just they're telling the audience, like, hey, hope you're not sick of Wesley, because he's boy genius, and he's gonna be a main character going forward.
He's gonna be nothing but he's gonna fix all of the problems.
We don't have an engineer yet.
Yeah. I don't mind it. It's fine. It's okay to make Wesley a special thing. That's fine. But it's just like you're saying, it's kind of overkill when like literally every character has something. I feel like Riker and Picard are like the only they're just normal guys.
They're just normal. Well, no, Riker can undock the ship by just saying words.
True.
How did you do that, sir? How did you do that?
Wow. So anyway, so we get all through all that, and then we have Picard walking through the corridors yet again. And what does he come across?
Fireman.
Fireman.
Oh, that's so funny.
Put it out with your mind. I don't know how.
Yeah. It's like, dude. And that's, to me, that's what made this scene even funnier. Put the fire out. And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, just think about the fire being out. And he's like, oh. But like, if you were trapped behind a wall of fire, wouldn't one of your thoughts be like, I wish this fire wasn't here?
Or I had a fire extinguisher or whatever, anything, right? Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's a good idea, Captain. I don't want this fire to be here.
The other thing I don't really like about it, and they didn't think about it, was when the firewall goes away and he talks to the guy.
Yeah.
The guy's also really weird to Picard. He's like, oh, okay, Leo hitter count. He's just like really strange.
Yeah.
But he's still like sweaty. And it's like he shouldn't have been like when the firewall, whatever, like during the fire thing, I get it. Like maybe because she turns into the ballerina kind of thing. Like they show the visual.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And like he has the violin in his hand and all that stuff. So I get him being sweaty and like in all like, but then when the firewall goes away, like he should have just been normal looking.
Yeah. The other thing I thought was super funny about the violin guy.
Yeah, okay.
Is that like, so here they are, like every episode, they're like, oh, French? No. Nope. That's gone. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But like music from the like 1800s is still like very prominent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Like this guy is playing, in a symphony.
Beautiful.
That's like, okay. So that stuff is still. But the French, the whole culture of like French and stuff, nah, that's gone. It's like, what? Yeah, it's weird.
It is. Now it's time for trivia.
Oh, not again.
All right, now you're overacting.
The story is loosely based on a TOS novel called The Wounded Sky.
Yeah.
Which was written by Diane Duane. But no surprise, producer Maurice Hurley did numerous uncredited rewrites.
Nice. So he's still doing that, huh?
Yep. But this is what she says. We turned in the first draft script and waited a couple weeks for the notes. Heard nothing. Called the TNG office and discovered that we had been cut off at first draft and the script given to someone else for rewrite. We were unclear about the reasons for this particular cutoff for a long, long time, nearly 10 years. We'd unwittingly become caught up in inter-office politics. One member of production staff got up another one's nose and as a result was chucked out. And though they weren't told what was going on, so were all the writers associated with that production staffer. At any rate, after the rewrite in the shooting script for the episode, only 2 elements of our original, besides the general idea, remain. The scene where Picard and his mother, which was Michael's, and the shot of Picard almost falling out of the turbolift into open space.
Oh, yeah.
Which was Diane's. Yeah.
I like that. That was pretty good. What the hell? That was good. I enjoyed that.
It was good.
That was pretty.
Notably, the characterization of Kaczynski and the addition of the Traveler were entirely products of the rewrite.
Cool.
In the original teleplay, Kaczynski was responsible for both the warp effect and the accident. He also had a son who felt his father was more interested in his work than in him.
Yep.
The hallucinations were more bizarre, like Beverly's husband appears to them. The Enterprise gets trapped inside an egg.
What?
Yep. Stuff like that. While shooting the scene in the episode where Riker tells Picard it wasn't him, it never was, it was his assistant, Jonathan Frakes had difficulty saying the line and eventually could not say it without breaking into a laugh.
Huh.
And according to Patrick Stewart, the event soon spread like bushfire through the set to the point where the sound mixer, Alan Bernard, had to wheel his sound card off set as he could not stop laughing. And then in 2012 at Calgary Comic-Con, he still couldn't say the phrase very well.
It's not him. It never was. It was his assistant.
Yeah. I went back and listened to it when he was doing it.
No, it doesn't stand out to me.
No, and he kind of just pushes through it. You can hear him like not fully say some of the words. He doesn't give like full enunciation to some of the word.
What did you do? It wasn't him. It never was. It was his assistant.
What are you talking about?
Kaczynski wasn't the one controlling the warp experiment.
It was me.
But yeah.
It's funny.
It is really funny. Worf's Targ was played by a Russian wild boar named Emmy Lou.
It's so funny. When you were in the beginning of the episode, when you were going through all the special guest appearances, I was literally going to say, like, and who played Wolf's Bow?
Yep, Emmy Lou.
But it really was nice.
The Traveler, Eric Menyuk, he was a finalist for the role of Data.
Oh, wow.
But they gave him this quote-unquote consolation prize for playing the Traveler.
They said, get bent.
We get to see what they call the Master Systems Display in Engineering, that thing that they stand at.
Oh, yeah.
That makes its first appearance in this episode.
Cool.
And this episode was nominated for an Emmy in the category of Outstanding Sound Mixing for a Drama Series in 1988. And the sound mixers were Chris Hare, Doug Davey, Jerry Clemens, and Alan Bernard.
That's cool.
So there we go. So that was trivia. we come back, and Picard is sort of nice to Wesley by making him acting ensign.
Yeah, that was interesting that the captain has the power to just do that.
Yep.
It seems like in Strange New Worlds that was a whole like ordeal for like Uhura to become an ensign.
I agree.
And I'm sure there's not, like a Federation like rule about age or anything.
No, I think it's like a commission thing. He's like they do that, I think, in the military too, where they commission you like out on the seas and you become like an acting whatever. And then when you get back to port, then you either lose that title or you have to like officially have training. Like you have to go in and have official whatever. Which is why they immediately are like, you're doing classwork immediately. You're going to the academy.
He's excited about it, and then like immediately like, I never get to do anything.
But it's nice. The thing I liked, it was nice continuity for him to have the Traveler tell him all this, and then Picard immediately like kind of acts upon it and doesn't just go like, that was weird, and then doesn't do anything about it. Like he does take what the Traveler says to like heart. Well, that generally was our review, but before we conclude, let's do the thing everyone's been waiting for.
Caleb?
Okay, Caleb, who gets the Erica Ortegas Award for being the most unlikable?
That's easy. The engineer guy that came over.
Nice, Kaczynski. Yeah.
Kaczynski. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty awful.
He's pretty bad. He does real good at being terrible, yeah.
And it's like even towards the end when he's like letting the Traveler like figure things out and he's just kind of standing there. And he's just kind of quiet and doesn't say too much. He's just like, you're just like, yeah, this guy is terrible.
They don't even want him in the room.
Yeah.
I like when the Traveler's like, all right, now, if you stand over here at that council, he's like, oh, you need my help? That's amazing.
No, I don't need your help. I just need somebody to stand there, and you were the closest.
Yeah.
Next is the Elizabeth Cutler Award for the most forgettable.
I'm gonna say it's the cat.
The little orange cat that jumps.
Yeah. You have to run. It's not safe here.
Yeah, the cat. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. That whole scene is really
good, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next is the Mugatu Award for the best alien of the episode.
It's got to be the Traveler, yeah. Even though he likes kids, it's fine.
It's fine. He didn't act on anything. He didn't.
No, he's an alien, so they don't see age the same as humans.
Yeah. Don't say that out loud. Dear Lord, boy, don't say that out loud. Next is the Trip Tucker Award for the MVP.
It's like the Traveler got them home, but he also got them lost. So it's like very confused.
But maybe it's Wesley.
It's not. It's never.
Okay, it's never Wesley. Okay.
It's never going to be Wesley. So I like how he always gets yelled at to like be quiet.
Yeah.
And then.
Oh, yeah.
And then. He's like, oh, yeah, Wesley saw it. And he's like, Wesley, why didn't you speak up? Why didn't you speak up, idiot?
And then Riker's
like, oh, he did like 4 times, and I told him to shut up because I'm following your order.
Oh, wow.
Oh. It's probably Riker this episode.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine.
He was more active with everything going on and stood up for Wesley a few times.
Yeah. And he also, he really didn't want this thing to happen.
No.
He was like, him and Data were like the only guys on the ship, but him more so because he was following the Kaczynski guy that, this doesn't make any sense. And every time the engineer Kaczynski guy would be push, Riker would push right back, dude.
Yeah. Like this super smart guy, but it's like we've all been through Starfleet training. We all know that like what you're saying is BS.
Right. Well, that was the thing that I loved in that scene where they're down in engineering and he's talking to him, and he's like, "Oh, well, you guys just don't understand. You don't understand. You don't get it. I'm sure you put it in at this calculation, you did this thing, and nothing happened." And he's like, "But you didn't try doing this BS thing." And then he's like, "Until we can actually like this makes sense, like explain it. Until you explain it to us, we're not going to do it." He's like, "Well, this is from Starfleet Command. Like, this is happening from the top down." And he's like, and Riker's like, "Yeah, great, got it." He's like, "But it's not going to happen on the ship until the chief engineer approves it and I approve it." And he's like, "Well, where's the captain?" And he's like, "He's busy." He's like, "Well, I want to talk to the captain." He's like, "You're fine, but you're just going to get the same answer." Like, I just like that Riker doesn't like push like back down.
Yeah, and also Riker as number one realizes that like me and the captain are on the same page on this, so it doesn't really matter if you talk to him or not. I'm telling you, you're not installing stuff on the ship.
Yeah. All right. Next is the Spock Award for the best line of the episode.
I think there's a line that Picard says after they realize that guy doesn't know anything he's talking about and that they tricked him. And he's like, "Well, how would you have known? Like, how would we all know?" And basically, like the way he like walks around and promotes himself, like, how would you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good because he doesn't like blame anybody.
No. Right. Yeah, good. That's a good scene. Next is the Shran Award for the best action sequence.
It's when Picard almost steps off the turbo lift into space. That's
nice. Nice. I like it.
That.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh my God. How am I breathing?
Then when the door opens up again, he's like,
I like that too. He kind of like timidly walks through the doorway, like making sure that the door's actually there,
Yeah. And then he looks back at it and he's like, okay.
All right. Okay. And then immediately they're like, "Run for your life, Captain, run for your life."
And he's like, "What's happening?
What?
Shut up.
Don't you see it?" And then they turns the corner and it's an ensign dancing.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh my God." Stop dancing, ensign. You're freaking everyone out. Don't you know the art of ballerina has been dead for millennia?
It's disgusting.
Died with the French.
Next is the NX Award for some sweet ship stuff.
I like seeing it go through like hyper speed or whatever you're calling it.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Hyper speed.
Traveler speed. Oh my God, he's gone plaid. It's very reminiscent of when they're in the wormhole, I think in the motion picture. Where it's all like
weird.
Shifted. Yeah, they're like
yeah. You know what line I really like, actually, now that I'm thinking about it?
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't know if you want to edit it, but
we'll see if it's good.
I really like when after Picard sees his Moa.
Yeah.
Riker says, "Can I help you, sir?" And he says, "No. We need to help everyone."
Oh, yes.
I was like, that's cool. That's a good captain line. I literally just remembered that.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll half it. I'll give you both of them. So that way it'll show up early and everybody will be like, he didn't say anything about this part. And then later it'll show up as later. It'll be perfect. So
nice.
Next is the Porthos Award for the cheesiest thing of the episode.
Definitely the firewall.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
It burns. It burns, Captain.
I wish it was gone.
Oh.
What happened to it?
Oh, it was just here. I wonder what would
I
happen
wish-
if there was a firewall right here. Oh my!
I wish. I wish I wasn't being burnt. Oh. Well, now I'm cold. I wish I could be warmed up.
It feels so much like a Futurama Simpsons thing, right?
It does.
Like,
it does.
Lastly, is the Enterprise Award for the best scene of the episode.
Let's do the scene where Picard has tea with his mom.
Ooh.
Because it gives you backstory on Picard.
Yeah.
And maybe now in the future he'll start drinking Earl Grey. Because he has
Maybe
I hear all about Earl Grey, but I've not yet to see it. So
nope. He hates that drink. All right. Well, that concludes our review. So go down to the comment section and let us know what you thought of the episode. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you want more of it? Yes. Did your excitement go where no one has gone before? Yes. Let us know down below.
Next time on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Next week's episode is Lonely Among Us. As always, you can like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you dislike it, but share it with all your friends and family and Trek enthusiasts. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and ring that bell for notifications so that when an episode like this comes out, you don't miss it and you're first to see it. Also, when this video is over, make sure you go over to Caleb's channel. Caleb has a prop channel. He has a lot of cool, fun things over there. And if you're just looking for more Trek content, well, guess what? He's got some over there, too. So find it, watch it, and let him know how you liked it.
Yeah. Lots of Trek stuff over there.
Leave him a comment, subscribe, leave him a suggestion. You decide. We appreciate you doing all the fun things down below here. That's great. Thanks for doing it. And computer end program. See you guys.
Bye.